Thanks so much for joining us for this look at the best original reporting from KPBS News this week. I'm Matt Hoffman in for Maya Trabulsi. Coming up, discrimination in police departments. KPBS investigates a new law that requires law enforcement to disclose bias within its ranks, and housing for artists in North County. See the new homes that are intended to minimize gentrification. And the Great Shakeout. See how kids in one San Diego County classroom got an important lesson in earthquake safety. We're starting with some of our election coverage. People are already voting with the general election now just 2 weeks away. KPBS education reporter MG Perez tells us how political extremism is now affecting down-ballot races.
Well, I'll speak quickly. I listened to all these woke. Well, I'm sorry it's not okay, but what's really not okay is discrimination and racism.
It came fast and furious.
From hell's heart, I stab at thee.
Those are voices from school board meetings in San Diego County at different times during the COVID pandemic of the past 2.5 years. Hostility and hatred directed at those elected board members whose job is running school districts and spending taxpayer dollars. This is from a board meeting in May in the San Diego Union High School District.
So I wanted the money of the district to be spent wisely. This is my time. Please shut up. Let me speak. Okay?
Then there's this from a meeting of the Sweetwater Union High School District in 2020.
You want to fight? You want to war? We're coming, and we're not going to take it.
Parents and teachers and community members have shown up like never before to blame and berate school board members about everything from mask mandates and vaccination requirements to critical race theory and LGBTQ representation.
If we don't start from an established set of facts, then it makes it very difficult to have any conversation beyond that.
Evan Crawford is a political scientist at the University of San Diego. He studies trends in school boards across the country.
Most of the job is what we would probably all still agree is nonpartisan. We have a certain budget that we have. Are we going to construct a school here? Are we going, we got to set the bus routes. We're hiring personnel.
There are more than 13,000 school boards in the U.S., 1,000 of them here in California alone. They are supposed to be nonpartisan, solving very localized problems. But COVID created universal chaos in education, along with deep-rooted political lines, which means your ballot for the November election has candidates with big party support, even if there is no capital R or D next to their name.
Strong Republicans or Democrats who have these passionate kind of partisan feelings and now see the school board as a partisan body, that might now be attractive to them.
And it's a hidden giant. And so many opportunities to get people in, to have some say in their local school boards.
Sean Steele is a lifelong Republican. He chairs the California Republican Party and is the state representative on the Republican National Committee. He has been at work recruiting and training candidates for school boards in a program called Parent Revolt.
I don't care how much experience they have, if they are parents, and they love their kids and they're reasonable, I would support them, and that's including non-Republicans.
I would tell students in San Diego and across the country that your voice matters. You can make a difference.
Shiva Raj Bhandari is on the other side of the aisle and a couple of states away. He is 18 years old, a high school senior, and in September he was elected to the Boise, Idaho School Board, defeating an established incumbent candidate who accepted the endorsement of a local far-right paramilitary group known as the Idaho Liberty Dogs.
The only way we can stop that, the only way we can stand up for our schools is to put our foot down and say, no, enough. That extremism has no place here. Everyone is welcome to participate in decision-making regarding our schools, but hate and violence and hateful rhetoric have no place in Boise and anywhere else in the country.
Shiva's historic election is one solution to the unfolding political problem that is gripping school boards everywhere. It also provides a teachable moment, which Keisha Borden says is a good thing. She has decades of experience as a San Diego teacher who now serves as regional director for the California Teachers Association.
It's a lesson that shows how important it is for everyone to be involved in the democratic process.
Karen Janney's got to go, hey, hey, ho, ho!
That lesson will not go quietly. MG Perez, KPBS News.
As you study the issues and the candidates, the KPBS Voter Hub is the place to be. We have content in both English and Spanish this year. The KPBS Voter Hub has all of our reporter stories and explainers on all of the key races. You can get there by clicking the Voter Hub link on the KPBS homepage. The explainers at the KPBS Voter Hub include many of our local races. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen tells us how Republicans are trying to hold on to the lone seat on San Diego City Council.
For the past 2 years, District 6 has been represented by the last Republican in San Diego elected office. Now that he's termed out, 2 Democrats are running to replace him.
I have served as a member of the Mira Mesa Community Planning Group for over 9 years now.
Kent Lee finished first in the D6 primary, winning 41% of the vote. He's spent the last 6 years running Pacific Arts Movement, the nonprofit that produces the San Diego Asian Film Festival. He says that experience as a manager will help him address the city's operational problems.
You look at the fiscal challenges that we faced, the staffing and vacancies that we currently hold. And I think these are critical components that explain why the city is failing to deliver on some of its most basic services that people think of every day.
I'm not aligned with a lot of the downtown outlets and a lot of the downtown special interests.
Tommy Howe, an activist and former radio host, finished second in the primary with 37% of the vote. He's skeptical of the city's efforts to zone for more housing and says most new homes are too expensive for the middle class.
And we still aren't answering the basic question. How is this housing that we're building going to be somehow more accessible, more attainable, and more affordable for our neighbors?
The housing and zoning debate is a critical one. The next council member in District 6 will vote on new community plans in University City and Mira Mesa. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
Politics is at the heart of a discussion to keep Venezuelan asylum seekers in Mexico. KPBS border reporter Gustavo Solis, he met with shelter operators in Tijuana who are upset by the move, saying that the system is overwhelmed.
Activists in Tijuana burned 2 piñatas on Monday. One of them looked like U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, and the other one looked like his Mexican counterpart, Marcelo Ebrard. This was in protest of a recent agreement in which Mexico will accept Venezuelan nationals deported from the U.S. Sergio Tamay is an activist in Tijuana. He says that this agreement is inhumane to Venezuelan asylum seekers. It also puts more pressure on Tijuana migrant shelters that are already over capacity and underfunded.
Si Estados Unidos quiere deportarlos, que los deporte directamente a su país de origen.
Tamay says that if the U.S. wants to deport Venezuelans, they should deport them to Venezuela. But that's easier said than done. Unlike with most Latin American countries, the U.S. does not have a deportation agreement with Venezuela. So the easiest alternative is to pressure Mexico into receiving them. Tijuana shelters are already stretched thin. They receive no money from either federal government, yet accept hundreds of deportees every day. Jose Maria Garcia Lara is with the Migrant Alliance of Tijuana.
La crisis migratoria ya está y que se va a poder salir, lo que nosotros decimos es que se puede salir de control.
He says there's already a migrant crisis in Tijuana, and unless shelters get more funding, things are going to get out of control. Hugo Castro is a binational activist. He supported Joe Biden during the 2020 presidential election.
Esto es en contra de los derechos humanos y en contra también de las promesas de campaña.
Castro says that this agreement not only violates the human rights of Venezuelan nationals, but is also a broken campaign promise by Joe Biden. Activists say they'll continue protesting until the situation changes. Gustavo Solis, KPBS News.
The past couple of years, we've seen a movement to boost transparency in law enforcement, and part of that is a new state law. It requires agencies to release records about officer discrimination. But investigative reporter Claire Tregeser found most local departments say they have nothing to report.
It was a night in Vegas that didn't stay in Vegas. In January 2020, Sheriff's Deputy Andrew Phillips and his girlfriend spent hours at a casino drinking heavily with a group of German tourists. That's according to a sheriff's report. Later, the group went up to a hotel room. that's where things took a turn. Phillips allegedly punched a hole in a wall and pulled out his gun. He was arrested by Las Vegas police.
Well, he's claiming that that's his girlfriend. She's in the room. They got in a fight over Russian Nazis. That's exactly what he's claiming.
Phillips was fired for breaking several sheriff's department rules, drinking while armed with a gun, and saying he's in law enforcement to avoid arrest.
Well, if I'm not under arrest, can I not be handcuffed? I'm no danger to you.
But all of this would have stayed secret if Phillips hadn't broken one other rule.
Who you claiming
to? German idiots.
He said discriminatory things about the Germans.
Russian, German, where the hell they are. They're speaking some other damn language.
A new state law says when departments find their officers say or do discriminatory things, those records have to be public. But San Diego County police agencies say they have nothing to report. The Phillips case is just one of 6 released. But does that mean all officers are behaving correctly? Nancy Skinner, the state senator who wrote the law, is dubious.
If you have a culture in an agency where they, number one, don't even want to recognize misconduct, so even if the officer is behaving in the way I described, they don't sustain a finding, then that doesn't serve us either.
It could be that the reviews aren't done thoroughly, so no discrimination is found. Or it could be that officers don't want to report on each other.
I mean, I was scared to report it because I didn't want to be known as like the weak female or, you know, the quote unquote snitch or rat.
Stacey Ralph is a former sheriff's detective suing the department for sexual harassment.
So I think there's this fear of reporting because then, you know, everybody looks at you like, oh, I can't work with that person because they're a snitch and they can't take jokes.
There's also reluctance to report from members of the public.
The first big issue is that the public does not think that these discrimination claims will be taken seriously.
Rashawn Ray is a senior fellow at the Brookings Institution. He says people may not want to go into a station or give out personal information to file a report. And even if they do,
that discrimination claims are extremely, extremely hard to prove because there is a lot of information and evidence that needs to be gathered. And it does oftentimes come down to a community member said and a police officer said. And that's the reason why video evidence is so important and body-worn camera evidence is so important.
Video evidence is crucial in these cases. So says Lieutenant John Boyce, who runs the San Diego Department's internal affairs. He calls it body-worn cameras or BWCs.
I can think of several examples where there's an allegation of some insensitive term being used. And when we review the BWC, we clearly see that it never occurred.
He says the low number of discrimination cases is a sign of progress.
I would like to think that it just shows that our the deputy sheriffs and employees of the San Diego Sheriff's Department are doing their job impartially and doing what we expect of them.
But community members who deal with police say there is discrimination going on, and more than just sheriff's deputies like Andrew Phillips saying things about Germans. Claire Tregesser, KPBS News.
A pioneer in broadcasting with deep roots in our community is being recognized. Kitty Alvarado went to Lemon Grove for a very special tribute to a man whose career opened doors for so many others.
We bless this digging and this tree for generations to come.
City community leaders, family, and friends gathered in Lemon Grove to honor broadcast pioneer Tayari Howard by planting a tree.
We're gonna all do this together. There we go.
And laying a brick in the City Hall's promenade. Shane Harris, the president of the People's Association of Justice Advocates, put together the ceremony to honor his mentor in broadcasting after learning Howard had been diagnosed with brain cancer.
As much time, energy, and commitment that this man gave to our region, it is the least we can do to make sure that he gets his flowers while he's still here with us.
During his 50 years as a radio personality in San Diego, Howard's smooth voice reached far beyond the county. He played a pivotal role in getting Black music on the airwaves, but had to broadcast from Tijuana to get his own voice heard and Black music played.
It's always been a mission of never give up. When I came to San Diego in 1970, I couldn't get a job outside the military, especially as a broadcaster, but I knew I wanted to follow in my mother and father's footsteps as legendary pioneer broadcasters, so I didn't give up.
Howard not only reflected on that time, but also had a message for people still fighting for opportunities.
And I think what happened was over 50 years of broadcasting at 8 different radio stations, 1 TV station here in San Diego, they got the message. I didn't give up. Why should they give up?
One of those 8 stations was KPBS. Howard's daughter, Mercedes, is a third-generation broadcaster.
I know I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for that guy over there doing Lovers for Friends and sneaking into his room trying to watch him do a show. So we thank you and we love you as a family. We can't thank you guys enough.
But most remarked not on Howard's celebrity, but on his community service, which even earned him 2 presidential awards from Barack Obama. Howard raised nearly $2 million for nonprofits and mentored dozens of youth. And he says there's more to come.
Never give up. I'm not done yet. I may have been diagnosed with cancer. I'm still giving back to the community. As long as God allows me to stay on the earth and give back to the community, that's what I'm going to be doing.
Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
It's going to be a another exciting weekend for San Diego sports. The Padres are in Philadelphia for the National League Championship Series. That's after they split the first 2 games in San Diego. Take a look at that. And 2 of our soccer teams, the Wave and the Loyal, they also have playoff matches. It's the focus of this week's KPBS Roundtable. You can find it on all major podcast platforms. And the Padres are also getting a lot of attention this week at KPBS.org. One of our most popular stories is the drama behind a mural that popped up downtown. There's also plenty of election interest, including our look at the local judge races, and find out why there's some pushback by some in Hillcrest on plans for a new historical district. You can find those stories right now at KPBS.org. And art affordability is the mission behind a unique housing development in North County. Tanya Thorne met with some of those who now call it home.
New residential developments pop up everywhere, but this one in Vista has a special focus.
What we did here at Paseo Artist Village was to provide the resources of a work area for artists as well as a artist gallery, along with affordable apartments in one place.
Mary Jane Jagodzinski is with Community Housing Works, a nonprofit organization that develops affordable apartment communities in California. While they operate different properties in San Diego, Paseo Artist Village is the only one that is art-focused.
Many artists get priced out of gentrifying areas where they can no longer afford to live and the rent. So it's really important to provide affordable apartments that they can remain and be part of the fabric of the community.
The village has 60 units, an art gallery, a community room, and resources for residents. Applications were open to local artists, veterans, seniors, and their families.
1 bedrooms at the lowest level of income, rent would be about a little over $550 a month. A 3-bedroom at the highest income, rent would be a little more than $1,350 a month. So when you hear of these astronomical rents today, you can see these really are affordable.
And affordable living is what Addie Seeley needed to continue creating.
I moved back down here from Los Angeles after I graduated from Cal State Long Beach, Go Beach. And I was looking for a place as I moved in with my son. And I moved into the garage.
Now in her apartment at Paseo Artist Village, she has the space to create what she pleases at an affordable price.
I am on a fixed income, and after I pay the rent and everything else that I'm responsible for, I might have about $60 left for the month.
Seeley says creating art is what keeps her busy. She paints, makes glass art, ceramics, and jewelry. But she still has a little doubt in her work.
I think every artist goes through a phase where they are not necessarily, I don't know if I want to do this. No, this isn't good enough. No, I'm not ready. And that was me.
Seeley says that doubt may fade away with the art gallery available to residents. Luis Ferres also lives at Paseo Artist Village. His main source of income is from working with children with autism. But in his free time, he draws and paints.
Doing art is almost a form of therapy. So, you know, it can help with your mental health, expressing yourself through a new medium.
Ferres says the affordability of his new apartment lets him spend more time doing what he loves.
I believe that it's a necessary part of life that has sort of been neglected with our fast-paced way of living.
Developers of the property say the project synchronizes with Vista's revitalization of their arts and culture district. Vista council member Corina Contreras says she's happy to see a development that is making places for all.
I want to see a revitalization continue to happen where we're not displacing people. That's the most important thing, because a lot of people are afraid of gentrification and what the implications are for them and their families and the future of their families.
More events and opportunities are on the way at the Paseo Artist Village, including a popular sandwich chain taking on the retail space.
Tons of people enjoy Jimmy John's, and we're going to have the first one here in Vista.
San Diego's first Jimmy John's sandwich chain is expected to open in Vista next year. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
The trucking industry is essential for California's economy, and for many, their entry point is right here at the border. But those trucks are also a huge source of pollution. Alexander Nguyen reports on what's being done to try and make them cleaner.
On an average day, roughly 3,500 of these trucks cross the border at Otay Mesa. They are the backbone of California's economy, bringing in goods from south of the border. But they are also a major contributor to pollution.
The trucks are responsible for roughly 50% of all the pollutant we see in the air here in California.
Randall Offer is an air pollution specialist with the California Air Resources Board. He says these diesel trucks emit particulate matter that is hazardous for your health, especially for those living in industrial areas, such as Barrio Logan.
We know that in areas where there's high truck traffic, there are higher cancer rates a lot of times.
According to CARB, particulates from diesel engines are responsible for up to 70% of known cancer risk in California. That's why CARB developed the Portable Emission Acquisition System, or PEACS. It will allow the agency to screen more trucks and catch ones that don't meet California's emission standards, and they could be deployed anywhere.
This mobile system checks for emissions by drawing air through those pipes right there, and data are sent through these analyzers right here, and trucks with high emissions are sent for secondary inspection at the Otay Mesa CHP station.
The system captured data such as how much particulate matter was emitted and the levels of carbon dioxide, nitric oxide, and nitrogen oxides, gases that contribute to smog and acid rain. This is all part of the heavy-duty inspection and maintenance program signed into law by Governor Gavin Newsom in 2019. The program aims to ensure heavy-duty trucks' emissions remain low for their entire service life.
It'll actually improve the cost situation for the trucks themselves, because this system is designed to make sure they're operating as they were designed from the factory, reducing repair costs.
At the Otay Mesa CHP Commercial Vehicle Enforcement Facility, trucks that failed the secondary inspection are given a citation that could range from a fix-it ticket to several $1,000s in fines for serious violations. At the border, Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
Our final story takes us to Pacific Beach. That's where kids participated in the Great American ShakeOut. And that's where KPBS reporter Kitty Alvarado got to learn how to stay safe from a class of third graders.
Reading, talking about the Padres, Just your typical day inside Mr. Romo's third grade classroom at Kate Sessions Elementary School in San Diego. But it's October 20th, and in just a few seconds, it will be 10:20.
What's that bell? What are you guys do?
On this day and time, 9.6 million people across California are practicing what to do in case of an earthquake. After students drop, cover, and hold on.
Ladies and gentlemen, number line order at the door. Go.
It's exciting at first as they head out the door, but they remember to stay calm. Soon, all 440 students make it out to the field. Now, it's back to the classroom, where students are eager to talk to Mr. Romo about the drill.
We want to know how you guys felt the entire time, okay? Be honest with them.
I felt kind of calm, but I also felt kind of scared, but not too scared, because if it was real, then I would be really scared, because I've never experienced an earthquake. I was pretty emotional that I was kind of scared, and I don't know how I was feeling, like calm or I don't know.
It's normal to feel this way, and why practicing is important.
To me, the most important thing that I would like my students to know is to stay calm. When they panic, that's when mistakes happen.
So during the real thing, even when you're nervous, you still know what to do, just like these students.
You really want to practice it a bunch because it will come unexpectedly. So you want to be prepared, like whenever it's going to happen, especially since this state is really of like earthquakes. And
if you're not cautious enough, there could be consequences.
So we all have to be ready.
Yeah.
Living in California is beautiful, but
there's lots of earthquakes.
Very good. Everyone give yourself a round of applause.
The Great American Shakeout. We're ready. Are you? Yay!
Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
We hope you enjoyed this look at KPBS News this week. I'm Matt Hoffman. Have a great weekend.